This year's Canex weekend, held in Algiers, Algeria, marked a historic milestone in Africa's creative and cultural industries. From the impressive turnout to groundbreaking partnerships and conversations, the event brought together influential voices from across the globe to celebrate Africa's creativity. Key figures in the organization, like Professor Benedict Orama, president of Afrexim Bank, and Kanayo Awani, executive vice president, highlighted the bank's ongoing commitment to supporting the continent's vibrant cultural economy.
This is the second edition of the full Canex weekend that is taking place. So what we expect that we will build on the success of the first edition, which was held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, some time ago. And building on that means that we will have more depth to the different pillars of the creative industry that Canex supports. And these include film, music, sports, fashion, the visual arts, literary arts, and gastronomy and culinary, which was something we introduced at the last Canex at Inter-African Trade Fair in Cairo last November. So this particular event will enable us showcase the progress that have been done, provide the platform that our creative professionals need to begin to break away from Africa's continued marginalization in the industry.
As people ask me all the time, why is a bank like yours involved in creatives? And the question is, why not? Our agenda is to see how we can contribute to transforming our continent. You cannot ignore that in today's Africa, where 60% of Africa's population, are youth, are young people. And half of that are actually women. You have to think about inclusivity. But beyond that, it makes business sense. It makes economic and business sense. The potential is huge. It's a 2 trillion export market. And Africa is at the periphery. Africa is less than 0.5%, of that global export market. And we had to promote it. We had to be involved. We had to enable it. We had to support it. And we studied the ecosystem and decided to introduce our interventions in several ways. We're intra-African trade. Remember, or maybe I should say, when we also introduce our intra-African trade strategy, we define intra-African trade as trade between and amongst African countries, but also trade between Africa and the citizens in the diaspora. So we envisage that it's not just about Africans trading among themselves, but also Africans trading with citizens in that. So it's going to be a flow of traffic. And we thought about it and said there's a huge flow of traffic, of capital, of whether it's funding or whether it's human capital, back and forth. And that's why we also made our forays into the Caribbean. Yeah. If you think about the consumers of African creatives, they're not all on the continent. While the continent enjoys a lot of, say, African fashion, why they enjoy, say, a lot of Nigerian movies, for instance, on the continent.
And Nigerian music as well.
And Nigerian music, but also they're consumers of African creative products outside of the continent.
Also present at Canex was Nigeria's Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy, who spoke passionately about her vision to leverage the arts to reframe Nigeria's global narrative, as well as the Minister for the Grand Bahama, who praised Canex for fostering connections between Africa and the Caribbean, noting that shared heritage and goals could create powerful collaborations, enriching both regions, culturally and economically.
An extremely proud Nigerian at this point. As you would know, one of our great initiatives is Destination 2030. It's a huge initiative that we want to take globally, where we will reposition Nigeria and really leverage on the great things that our creatives and our culture has to offer, our talent content, to see how not only we can reposition Nigeria, but also increase growth to our GDP. So, Canex, what it does is a convergence point. It's sort of a one-stop marketplace where the whole of Africa comes together. And I think it aligns greatly in terms of how we can really open up Destination 2030. The issues that we have on ground for Destination 2030, for the policy and infrastructure, is very much in line with what Canex, proposes to open up the growth of the industry and the culture in the African space and in the diaspora.
To promote the marketplace, we want everyone to know that that is coming, it is happening, and it's going to be a great connection between Africa and the Caribbean. Because at that marketplace, you'll have 54 African countries represented, 20 Caribbean countries, 16 islands of the Bahamas, where we get to see the best of what these countries have to offer. It will be a major tourist attraction, and it will also offer logistic opportunities to get African products into the region for redistribution to the rest of the world.
On the sports front, Amadou Gallo of the Basketball Africa League and Ambassador Pops Mensah Monsu also touched on the role of sports bridging cultural divides, highlighting initiatives that connect African youth through sports, emphasizing that platforms like Canex are essential in building sports infrastructure across the continent.
Well, first of all, we have a partnership with Afrexim Bank, so we share a common vision and a belief in Africa and its incredible, immense potential with the creative industry. Last year we were in Cairo and participated in the same event. So I'm glad to see the footprint growing, coming into Algeria. Really a sleeping giant, a country that is number 3 in terms of its economy on the continent. A massive population, just like everywhere else in Africa, 70% of the population under the age of 30. So being here for this weekend and having also our BL ambassador, Pops Mensah Monsu, former NBA player from Ghana who just finished a masterclass, sharing, really our vision and our common purpose in terms of using sports and entertainment to continue to inspire the next generation. And with the Basketball Africa League, our stated goal is to build an economic growth engine for the continent, really using the tremendous potential and talent that we have to bring all that together to see what we have, the success we've seen in such a short period of time, in 4 years since we launched the Basketball Africa League, bringing really the talents across all these sectors together to create a product that the world is recognizing now.
My main objective today was changing the perspective of how we look at sports and live entertainment. I looked at sports, African athletes, how they dominate the world of sports. Then I looked at live entertainment, where African musicians and the African music in itself, how far it's spread and how global it is. And talking about pairing those two sectors to build infrastructure so that we can get Africa into some economic sustainability. It's a travesty to me, as well as having some of the most famous and publicized entertainers on the planet, but they don't make a lucrative profit over here or make revenue over here. So we have to use that to generate income, and it's not just generating income for the athletes and the entertainers. It's also helping the community and the surrounding infrastructure, creating jobs, helping the GDP. So there's so many benefits to having this kind of infrastructure and using sports and entertainment to amplify it.
Culinary arts were also front and center this year, seeing South Africa's Chef Siba, Chef Raba from Algeria, Nigeria's Chef Stone, and African food changemakers Ndidi Muneli speaking on how food can serve as a cultural ambassador, uniting people across regions and redefining African cuisine on the world stage.
Well, food is medicine, food is love, food is culture, food is life. And the amazing thing is that food is also art. when we think about the creative industries, we often neglect the importance of food. There's no movie that's complete without food, and no fashion show that's complete or party that's complete without food. But food and how it's laid out and how it's designed is also art in itself. And Africa has some of the best food in the world. Not just in Nigeria, where our food is probably amazing and we know it, but across Africa. And so, what we wanted to do today was showcase the diversity of our food, celebrate our chefs who are also entrepreneurs, who are generating income, elevate their voices and their work, and ensure that globally we continue to celebrate our food.
The biggest takeaway from this event has been the fact that we need to forge forces together as Africans in order to amplify the voice in the culinary so that we at some point can take center stage, and the sooner the better. And I do think we've seen the wave. We've seen the wave when it comes to fashion, to beauty, where African ingredients or products have taken center stage. And I do think it's time for that wave to take over when it comes to food, and it's so beautiful to being part of the forefront of that and being able to push it. But we need more. We need more amplifiers. We need more people to amplify that, because what's stopping us from having products such as chakalaka from South Africa, or a spice, ayaji, which is made for suya, isn't it, from Nigeria, being part of a global scene where a person in London can open their pantry and there it is, and they use it normally, and it's not even a thing. That's where we want to be. And also it needs to be in global menus. It needs to be in fine dining restaurant, win Michelin stars, etc. Authentically African with a little bit of a twist in order to make it more accessible. But we must amplify. We must push that.
I mean, the objective is simple. It's just to be with my brothers from Africa, to be reunited with chefs from Africa, because my training was in Europe, like Chef Stone, like Chef Natasha, like everyone, and for all the technical aspect. But when you come back in Algeria, everyone goes back to his country, and there's so much work to do. So we're working a lot, but we don't turn to our continent, that the one that we belong to. And this event was just like, for me, like heaven coming to me, like when Canex came to me and said, we're going to do this and bring some chefs and everything. And you start to discover chefs in Africa you didn't know about, I heard about like Cape Town test kitchen, because it's in 50 Bus restaurant and all that, worldwide classification. But we need more and more events like this to know each other, That's the big problem. In Algeria and in each country of Africa, we don't know each other because they're big countries, different regions, less connection between people. And get connection with chefs like Kofi here, like Stone, like Siba. It's crazy. It's like more knowledge. For me, it's knowledge. It's all about our lives, I think we are knowledge. We are just here to train. We are training all our life. We're learning our craft. We're learning everything all the time. And what we love most is cooking. So look what I learned today. This soya spice, it's crazy, and it's so simple. And all the spice mixed in there, I just saw the recipe exists here. We have it in Algeria. But we will do Ras Al Hanout mix. We will do Sab'a Baharat mix that comes from Lebanon. But we will not use this, and it will be like a hit in my restaurant. So and I can assume it. I can be even proud of it because it's African and I'm African. So it's really crazy to learn this kind of thing.
My objective for Canex this year was to better highlight what Africa has to offer. I think we don't celebrate our praises enough. And it was about sustainability and innovation in the culinary space, and that's, I think, what we showcased today. I made some suya, which everybody loved, and it just goes to show that the spices and the spice blend that we bring from Nigeria can be recognized internationally. A lot of policies in Nigeria don't really work for the food space, and I think a lot of people struggle when they get into the food space because there's really nothing protecting food businesses, and it is an essential. Food is an essential. So I think policy makers need to be pushed and probe a bit more to ensure that the policy supports getting into the food space and the food business entirely.
Like fireworks in my head when it is I come together with creatives of all different sectors in one space to come up with a visionary, and I stand of what Canex is doing for their vision for 2065, and being part of the foundation and the success story of what is to come out of it. I have no choice. I have to be here. So it's a pleasure to be here another year, and just being again with everything that's happening around me. I'm going back pumped, and guess what? I'm ready for 2025.
Also happening on the sidelines were multiple screenings with a script-to-screen pitching session and a panel focused on opportunities and limitations of authentic African stories for global audiences.
Canex, Afrexim and Afrif partnered last year to do the script-to-screen class. And so from the 30 students that were trained, we selected 6 of the best. UCA, University of Creative Arts in the UK, we partnered with to train them, selected the 6. And so we came to Canex this year to actually listen to the pitch, and 3 films will be announced in the course of Canex as the films that were selected for production.
With the Nigerian International Film Summit, we are so focused on building bridges, because we notice there's some sort of disconnect, that you hardly see things, conversations, businesses, partnerships happening within the continent. So I think it's an abnormality, and platforms such as Canex could be a place for us to correct these things and make these things happen.
Canex also highlighted fashion innovation with industry icons like Nkwo Onwukwa and Ola Ray showcasing their pieces at the Canex Weekend Fashion Show, a testament to Africa's talent and creativity.
I'm the creative director and founder of Ola Ray. Ola Ray is a contemporary brand exploring elevated artistry through delicate traditional artisanal craftsmanship. We're founded in 2019, and what we do is explore a diverse range of traditional artisanal craftsmanship, by exploring a juxtaposition between these age-old techniques. Like, we try to create a twist on the techniques with cross-cultural references, silhouettes, and stories. So I started the brand because I realized that Nigerian craftsmanship was very bespoke, and it wasn't internationally accessible. That was what we're trying to address. And we wanted a situation where you could experience traditional craftsmanship, not just from the bespoke aspect of things, but from the ready-to-wear aspect of things as well. I wanted a situation where you could travel abroad and you can see Nigerian brands, African brands, with diverse traditional techniques on stores, on racks, available for ready-to-wear. And that's what we're doing at Canex. And we're here at Canex exposed to global buyers, global markets, and an opportunity has been opened, and I'm really excited for this, and I hope that we make the most of it.
So I think one of the biggest things for me with Canex is that they're about the business of fashion, and they don't see fashion as entertainment. It's about making an impact. It's like taking African brands to the global stage, showing people what we can do. It allows us to tell our stories, and if we can at least have some interesting buyers, it means that I can keep my women's project going, and that will make me so happy.
In a preliminary report given on the final day by Temwa Gondwe, senior official at Afrexim Bank, he confirmed this year's event saw 3,800 delegates with country representation from 81 countries and 108 exhibitors, as well as deal room signings of about $540 million across sports, music, and fashion.
In this business as a bank, we do transactions all the time. We provide financing. We have different instruments, whether it's debt, venture financing. We have established the Canex Creations Incorporated so that we can make strategic investments in this sector. So if you look at it, we're not in it for the short time, we're in it for the long haul. And as we see, even through our incubator and accelerator programs, as we see these brands grow and expand their business span across Africa and across the world, it is what we're in it for.
I think that Afrexim Bank is very courageous and groundbreaking in terms of their approach, because they have ventured into sectors and industries that they're not traditionally experienced in. Yeah. To take that leap is very courageous, and it's also
revolutionary and smart because they understand that as industries evolve, we have to be fast and be proactive in terms of educating ourselves and to take advantage of opportunities. And those opportunities on the continent are vast. They're gigantic. They're huge. So they're very smart in their approach. And I think that it's a process that you have to invest in. Everything that's worth anything takes time. So in terms of going back from Egypt to coming here, my personal experience has been that they have made great strides. We have made some great strides together because we are formulating a partnership that will help us create a big a content fund to support and to empower African filmmakers, storytellers, producers, in order to create our own narratives and tell our own stories. So I'm very excited and optimistic that in another year from now, you will definitely see some tangible developments.
Canex Weekend has once again proven the power of Africa's creative and cultural industries to inspire and influence the world. From arts and fashion to food, sports, and film, this has underscored the continent's role in shaping the global cultural landscape. As Africa's creative industries continue to grow, the future looks promising, with Canex leading the way in building a vibrant and interconnected creative ecosystem.